What's going on, guys? So if you saw my last video, I recently set up my Redfoot tortoises in a new enclosure, and as you can tell by the background right there, these guys are already starting to breed and they're starting to lay eggs. So I want to set up some new nesting spots. So here's two of these guys right here, two of the Redfoot tortoises. A lot of them like to hide inside of the banana tree. A lot of them are using these hides over here. But to be honest, they used to be going into that plant, and then we opened this up because before we had chicken wire across these plants so that the chickens wouldn't rip apart the roots. But since there's no chickens in here now and the plants are bigger, we opened it up, and so you can see all the Redfoot tortoises love to hide in there. So what I want to do is set up a new spot right here for them to lay eggs. This is a nice shaded area. These guys like to lay in the shade and towards the evening. I was originally going to put it on this side, but I feel like this gets too much sun and they might not like that. I am going to put one maybe here, one there, and if I have more sand, maybe one on this side right here. But anyways, what I gotta go do now is go pick up some sand, obviously, and after that pretty much just dump it on the floor and see if these guys like it. And this guy's still moaning and he's not even on her anymore. He has one eye, as you can see. This guy was born with one eye, at least that's what my friend told me. I got him from a friend, and there's his good eye right there. Although he is missing an eye, he has no problem finding food and no problem finding females. He's one of my most active Redfoots, to be honest. This guy's always walking around looking for food and looking for females to mate with. He's also one of the youngest, that's why he's so small. But anyways, I'm gonna keep letting these guys do their thing. In the last video I set up this spot right here because in the last video I covered up all the holes against the fence with some sand because I didn't want the babies that hatched out to be getting out. But I set this spot up, and so far only one of them has laid eggs here. The other ones have been nesting mostly around the trees. I had one lay over here and two of them laid under this tree right here. And the reason for that is because my grandfather put a lot of dirt here for the trees, and it's nice and soft, so they've been laying eggs. You could actually see one of the old nests right here. I already collected all the eggs in there. The other one was in this area, I believe. I actually forgot exactly where it was. And the third was right there, I believe, or somewhere in this area. I don't know the exact spot, but it was somewhere there. But yeah, I'm hoping that these guys actually like laying eggs in the sand because it's going to be simpler for me and it's going to be simpler for them. It's going to be a lot softer, although I've never actually tried making them any artificial spots like this before. Usually I just let them, you know, have the yard and they do what they want. But in my friend's house, I noticed that after like several months, honestly it was over a year actually since that I was keeping them in there, they started, since they were walking around so much, the floor started to get really hard and they were having difficulty with that. I'm hoping that something like that doesn't happen here. They have a bigger area and there's grass as well, so it's most likely not going to be a problem like that. But either way, I want to set up more nesting spots just to make it simpler for them because I noticed that they were actually using the one in the corner. Alright, so there we go. I put sand all in this area. I put some extra sand that I had inside of the hide because these guys like to lay in their hide sometimes, although I wasn't planning on doing it originally because I would have preferred in an area that I would be more easily able to see them. But since I had extra, I might as well just throw it in there. I put some here, and this is the last spot right there. I'm hoping that these guys are going to be using these spots. Now I'm going to be checking them every couple hours to see if these guys are going to be laying eggs in here. And as you can see, now that it's starting to get a little bit darker, these guys start to become more active and they start breeding. It's also partly because I've been out here working, so they see me and they come out and try and get fed. And of course we cut some leaves up for them so that they could eat if they want to. And some of them just prefer to eat grass just to clean up their poop. And there's the first tortoise digging her nest in the sand. This is the first time that I see them laying eggs. I actually had one that laid eggs in there. I didn't record that though. She laid 3 eggs, one of them cracked, or she laid 4 eggs, one of them cracked, so I only got 3 of them. All right, so I left for a few minutes to eat breakfast, and she already covered it up, so I guess she laid the eggs pretty quick. I didn't get to even see the eggs, but I'm gonna go do something real quick, let her finish up, and then we'll come back and take the eggs out. I kind of want to see how the nest looks on top of the sand, because I haven't been able to see it yet. Kind of like what I expected, some of the dirt got kicked out, and it's gonna be a sign of, you know, nesting. So hopefully it makes it a little bit easier. But it's been raining like crazy, and as you can see, the sand has kind of been flattening out, so it's getting a little bit harder. It's not terrible either, but it's definitely not as easy as it was at first. But the tortoises don't seem to have too much problem with it, and I'm sure it makes it a lot easier than dirt. There's also a few other females walking around, like the one right there and the one right there, so maybe they're going to be laying later on as well. I want to start marking the tortoises, the female tortoises, so I know which is which. And I mean, I know more or less which one it is, but I want to get a more exact data, and I want to start taking notes on how many they lay, when they lay, just to make it a little bit easier to keep track of all the babies. Because I could easily tell which tortoise is which. Like, I know which one it is, but they don't even have a name, so there's no way of me knowing. Like, I know who she is, but she has no name. So I don't really know how to explain it, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm saying. Like, I can't say who she is because she has no name. She's just one of my Redfoot tortoises. And I know which individual Redfoot it is, but I can't tell somebody like, oh, this Redfoot tortoise laid eggs, unless I'm visually showing it to her. So what I want to do is, for example, all the females, I want to put F1, F2, F3 for like female 1, female 2, female 3, female 4, and so on. And for the males, I want to do the same thing, although for the males it's not a big deal because there isn't really any notes that I'm going to be taking. But the females, I would like to know when they lay eggs, how many eggs they lay, how many of their eggs are fertile, and just keep better track of them, because I haven't really been keeping too much track of the Redfoots. I know, like I said, I know who they are. Like, I know some of them, but they don't all have names. Anyways, that's where the nest is. I'm going to collect the eggs now because I have to go out. So I'm going to just move her out of the way and pick them up. Here she is. Let's get her out of here and start digging out this nest. There they are. And there's the first egg. As you can see, it's pretty tiny, so hopefully it's a big clutch. Usually when they lay smaller eggs, the clutch is a little bit bigger, and when they lay bigger eggs, the clutch is a little bit smaller. I prefer smaller clutches with bigger, I prefer bigger clutches with smaller eggs because that means more tortoises, obviously. Although it's always cool to see some big babies hatch out. In this case, it was a small clutch with smaller eggs. As you can see, she only laid 3, but that's not a big deal. What's up, mama? She's still there covering up her nest. These guys are kind of like in a trance once they're laying eggs. They don't even know what's going on, and they don't really care either whether I take the eggs or leave them or anything. They don't care. They just want to get them out of themselves and move on. Here's another one of the Redfoots digging her nest. She's also using the sand, so it looks like these guys are actually enjoying it a little bit more. So far, none of them have laid outside of the sand since I laid the sand here. There's only been 2 nests so far. I'm gonna keep looking, see if there's any more. But yeah, I'll collect these eggs in a little bit. All right, so there she has 3 eggs in the hole already, and it looks like she's about to pop out another one. Let's see if we can get it coming out. There we go. Now she readjusts it, and this is kind of the dangerous part. Although with this softer substrate, it's a little bit simpler for them. I always like to just move her out of the way, get the eggs out as they go laying it, just because it's safer for the eggs. So that's what we're gonna do. Snatch them out right there. 2, 3. 4. There we go. And then just put it right back. I think she already finished because she was kind of trying to cover up the nest, although that could have just been because of the position. There we go. So far we got 4 eggs. There we go. Another egg just popped out. Kind of hard to see because I'm using a flashlight, not the flash on the camera. But let's pull that bad boy out. There we go. Another perfect little egg right there. I'm thinking that this is going to be a pretty big clutch because it looks like she's trying to push out another one. So you can see she's pushing her head in. So another egg should be coming out. Waiting second now. And there's the other one. There we go. Fresh out the oven. So far, 6 eggs, which is a pretty big clutch for a Redfoot tortoise, especially that these eggs are big. So you saw in the last clutch, it was 3 little eggs and a small clutch. Usually it's the other way around. It'd be 3 big eggs and a small clutch, but today it's 6 big eggs and a big clutch, and yesterday was 3 little eggs and a small clutch. And I think she might even be able to push out another one because she just had her head in. All right, so it looks like she's already starting to cover up the nest. So that means my job here is done. Now it's time to go put these guys away in the incubator. All right, so I just put the eggs in the incubator. These were the 3 that were laid yesterday. These are the 6 that were laid today. This one I found on the floor in the doghouse. In the doghouse, you know, the doghouse that I use for the tortoises. And it was kind of cracked and all that. So hopefully it does good. If it starts like looking bad, then I'll throw it out. And then these 3 were the ones that I found laying like outside of the ground. There were 4 of those. I think I mentioned it earlier in the video. There were 4 of those. One of them was cracked. So they were just chilling on the sand. And it looks like they're fertile. You can see a little bit of chalking right there. But so far, that's the only one that started to develop. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave a dislike. Leave some comments. Subscribe. Turn on post notifications. And have a great day. All right, so it's the next morning, and you can see here how the nest looks after the tortoise covers it up. Even with the sand, it's still pretty hard to tell. If I hadn't seen her laying eggs, it would have been very difficult for me to know. The only thing that kind of gives it away is the dirt along the edge, and I wanted her to cover it on her own. That's why I pulled the eggs out early so that I could see what it looks like after. Just in case I do miss some, I'll be able to recognize it a little bit better.